Now I also want to take the time to mention here, if you're watching this as a how-to thing, how to build an engine, you're in the wrong place. This is not a how-to. Morning, afternoon, evening. It's evening now. YouTube and the internet. I can't remember what I did again last time. I haven't edited the footage, so I don't know what I have put together. So when I left off, I checked the crank journal diameters, I checked the big end clearances, and I checked the mains on the block. And the next thing I had to do was, oh that's right, and I don't think I told you this. I think I told you the result. The mains are fine, they're all in spec, but due to not having the correct tool, I can only measure vertical. I can't measure the horizontal, but vertical is what wears more, because that's the direction of the force when the pistons go up and down. That aside, you know, it's enough to tell me that's okay. There have been oversized bearings have been used, obviously, to accept the machined crank. The rod end has had factory bearings put in it, which do not make up the thickness, and therefore the clearances are too big. Not enough to cause a knock, but enough to not go back in, that's for sure. So the last thing I've got to check is the bores, and once again I don't actually have the right gear. I've only got these verniers, so that's what I'm going to be using. This is not an assembly though, so it should be okay. I will have the right tools for that before taking that job on. Oh, I've broken it. There we go. To put you down. So I've just got to quickly clean the carbon off and then measure the diameters of the bore, compare them to the book, and measure the pistons, which are over there, compare them to the book, and have a look. I don't expect to see anything unusual there, but this will help me determine whether or not these may have been bored out already. They may be oversized pistons, I don't know. I don't think so, but there's only one way to find out. That looks like it'll work. Always work with my garage hat on, and what I need is a Scotch-Brite and some solvent. Gently cleaning up the carbon off the bores at the top, so as we get a nice clean measurement, because we don't have a bore gauge yet. Okay, simples. Quick wipe, my dirty oil rag, then a quick wipe with my clean oil rag. Just the top 20 mil or so. Just like everything else, write it down. Cylinder bore, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Front of the engine, it's the rear of the engine. Front, rear, across the bore, along the engine length of the bore. Now to do this properly, you should use a bore gauge and measure taper and everything else, but I'm just looking at basics here. Those along 86.03. There's a margin of error on this, but like I said, it's not for building purposes, so it'll be close enough. Alright, now we'll check across the block and see how round they are, basically. Let's have a look, see at the numbers. I'm pretty sure the bore should be neat 86 or slightly over, which I've got slightly over obviously. Cylinder bore should be between 86 neat and 86.03. So this has probably been bored out at some point, because I'll I've got 186.03, 186.02, and everything else is pretty much bigger than that. Or it's worn, it's possible, or I measure it wrong, but I'm getting an average measurement of a larger bore diameter than standard, so even if this is not as accurate as I'd like it to be, it's accurate enough to tell me that that's bigger than spec. There are some scoring marks, some rotational scoring marks, and there's also some just straight up vertical ones. There's some weird shit in here though. These imprints of the rings on the cylinders bore seem a bit odd. Now I've got to check the pistons. Hell, maybe they honed it out a couple of thou and got slightly oversized pistons. We'll find that out now. Okay, let's measure them up and then we'll look at. Here we go. Pistons. Now, my information tells me I should measure it across here only, because reasons I can't remember. But this is where you measure it, not across the top. It's number one. .82, which is, as far as I can tell, undersized. Unless the piston's deformed, or I'm not quite getting into the centre. Well, it's definitely across the centre. Let's measure them all, have a look, and then I'll go and, oh, I can't go and double check what I wanted to know because I don't have any internet at the moment. 85.87, that's 3 in a row that are the same. 85.87, this is the final measurement I'm getting, which is under spec. So I'm either measuring it wrong, or the pistons are out of shape, or they're too small, or I don't know. This engine had apparently done over 100,000 Ks before it was serviced, freshened up. Maybe that is within the realms of normal piston wear, I don't know. 85.87. Book says they should be 85.98 to 995. Yeah, not in spec at all. Not in spec. None of them in spec. All of it's too small. That's disappointing. How much? Once again, nothing's causing knock in any of this. Oh yes, it does. There is a standard piston clearance, right, which, based on these numbers, these are the piston diameters. So 85.87 for 4 of them. Down here, 85.985 is the smallest, the very smallest it should be. So the pistons are undersized, and then you think, oh, your measuring tool's out, all of the bores are oversized. So if it was out, it'd be going the same way. 86.04, 86.02 is in spec, number 2 is in spec, 86.08, 86.08, 86.08 and 86.04. Yeah, so I don't know what's happened there. Wear marks in the piston, how normal that is, I'm not sure. They're far enough apart, even though that tool is not accurate enough to build this engine. It's accurate enough to tell me that they're a long way from where they should be, just like everything else except the main oil clearance has been. So that sucks. Now I also want to take the time to mention here, if you're watching this as a how-to thing, how to build an engine, you're in the wrong place. This is not a how-to, okay? This is a me doing, documenting what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. It's not how to build an engine. I'm relying on other sources and other research to try and figure it out. I've assembled engines previously, I'll say, not built. Nothing as complex as an RB25 turbo, although it's not that complex in the grand scheme of things. but also nothing is going to produce as much power as this. So I'm going outside of my comfort zone of what I have done in the past and into the realms of much more accurate measuring and much more detailed work than what I'm used to. So I've not done this before. This is not a how-to, this is a me doing. And if the engine blows up in the dyno, I'll be able to review my videos and go, oh yeah, well that's what I did wrong, and not do it again. If it doesn't blow up in the dyno, well, you know, you all get to see it make some power. But I've got to decide what I'm going to do yet, which means add to my decision process these pistons not being of any use to me, that block potentially already being oversized by a few thou, or just out of shape. You know, bores are just flogged out potentially, which would probably make more sense because there's a little bit of egging in it, which means I need to probably check these two. This one's had some serious scoring in it. This one's had ringland failure. It's had one piston removed from it, and that's it. And it's just sat like that ever since. Anyway, that is what it is. The pistons and the bores don't match up well enough to use. Therefore, I'm going to have to buy new ones anyway. Therefore, I think I might buy better ones. Ones that'll handle a bit more power, maybe. I'm 99% sure what I'm going to do. I think I may have already said it. I haven't edited the video, so I can't look back and say, oh yeah, that's right, I've already put it in the video. So I forget what I'm doing all the time. You just have to put up with that. The last thing is to turn the radio on and make a phone call before I go and make dinner.